Okay, here I'm going to go over the cardiac cycle, and if you haven't watched the heart diagram video first, I suggest you watch that one before continuing with this one. Also, when you watch that one, develop your own diagram of the square heart, because we're going to be going through how the blood flows through the heart, and it'll be helpful if you can follow along. Starting in general here, our cardiac cycle, we have blood flowing through the heart, and we have our atrium at the top and our ventricles at the bottom. And we have contractions here of our different chambers. Both atria contract at the same time, as do this same with the two ventricles. This is going to push blood throughout the heart and allow it to fill certain areas, keeping in mind these areas here are the valves and will be important for restricting blood and directing it through the heart so it's most efficiently moved through the body. So starting with the circulation of the heart, we're going to start right here in the right atrium. From here, blood is going to flow from the right atrium into the right ventricle through a one-way tricuspid valve. Keep in mind, blue typically represents deoxygenated blood, even though blood is never blue. Moving from our right ventricle, blood is then going to the ventricle, will then contract, forcing blood through the pulmonary valve, which is located right here, into the pulmonary arteries. You see those located here. Pulmonary, when I think lungs, this blood is off to go to the capillaries found in the lungs. Oxygenated blood will then come from the lungs and empty into the left atrium, located here, through the pulmonary veins. So we see our pulmonary veins and our left atrium located here. From there, we're going to move from the atrium to the left ventricle. That's indicated right here. The ventricle contracts, forcing blood out in a single strong pulse. Now it's important to remember, we notice our muscle thickness, our atria is much thinner than our ventricles. Particularly our left ventricle is the thickest muscle, because here we're going to be pumping blood to the entire body. The bicuspid, or mitral valve, prevents backflow from forming, and that valve is located right here. So this will close, causing this forceful contraction of the ventricle out to the rest of the body. And that's going to go out the aorta through the aortic valve, and that will prevent backflow into the ventricle. Lastly, our blood eventually will return to the right atrium through the superior vena cava, which drains the upper body, and that's located here, and our inferior vena cava located here, and that's going to drain the lower body. And they're both going to go into this right atrium. Here's a couple other videos you're welcome to take a look at, but if you kind of follow through these steps, you hopefully can follow the path of blood through the heart and understand when it goes through one chamber versus another. Keeping in mind both atria contract at the same time as do both ventricles. So keep that in mind as you're learning about the circulation through the heart.